Just 4 days before the 2004 presidential election in the US, a videotape of Osama bin Laden was broadcast on the news. This was a really important election in American history. The candidates, George Bush and John Kerry, were both running their campaigns with the promise that if they were elected, they'd capture Osama bin Laden and get revenge for the 9/11 attacks. In this videotape, aired on Al Jazeera, Osama bin Laden looked healthy and admitted to the 9/11 attacks more directly than ever before. The point of this video was to show the world, especially the US, that the world's most wanted man felt totally safe somewhere. At the same time, Osama bin Laden's videotape was causing a big stir in America, and the CIA headquarters in Virginia was getting really frustrated. The special task force formed to find bin Laden had nearly all its leads run cold. This was especially annoying for the CIA since they had been super close to capturing bin Laden 3 years earlier. After the 9/11 attacks, the United States invaded Afghanistan the next month, pushing al-Qaeda fighters to the eastern part of the country. Al-Qaeda's fighters dug in inside the caves of Tora Bora, and the CIA thought Osama bin Laden was there too. Working with local tribes, the American army fought hard against al-Qaeda in Tora Bora. When they didn't have much luck, they went with heavy airstrikes. But by the time the American army won the battle, they only captured about 20 people, and the CIA missed their first big chance to catch Osama bin Laden. What the CIA didn't know was that among the 20 people captured was someone who would help them find bin Laden. This guy was Mohammed al-Qahtani, a name the CIA hadn't heard before. He admitted he was connected to al-Qaeda and claimed he came to Afghanistan for falcon hunting. When the CIA checked his fingerprints, they matched those already in their system. Just a few weeks before 9/11, a guy had tried to get into the United States at Orlando International Airport with $2,800 in cash and a one-way ticket. A customs agent, suspicious of the guy, denied him entry into the US and sent him back. This guy turned out to be Mohammed al-Qahtani, who was captured in the Tora Bora caves, and his fingerprints were already on file with the CIA. The CIA had another reason to link Mohammed al-Qahtani to al-Qaeda. On the exact same day and time he tried to get into the US, a call was made from a payphone at London Airport to an al-Qaeda number in the UAE. Since al-Qahtani was at the airport then, the CIA figured the call came from someone who came to pick him up, suggesting he had a partner. The FBI got word about the call that day, and they found an abandoned car in the Orlando airport lot. Turns out that car was rented by Mohammed Atta, the same guy who flew American Airlines Flight 11 into the North Tower on 9/11. All these events were definitely connected to Mohammed al-Qahtani. The investigation team concluded al-Qahtani was supposed to join the 9/11 attacks by hijacking United Airlines Flight 93. That flight, which didn't finish its mission on 9/11, went down in Pennsylvania when passengers fought back. After all this digging and connecting the dots, Mohammed al-Qahtani was grilled again, and this time he admitted his ties to al-Qaeda. 3 months later, in March 2002, they nabbed another al-Qaeda guy named Abu Zubaydah, who was the go-to guy for supplying stuff to the group. He helped the CIA grab Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, and a year later they got him too. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed? He was the big shot who masterminded the 9/11 attacks. Then Mohammed al-Qahtani spilled to the CIA that just 2 months before 9/11, in July 2001, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed introduced him to some dude who was a total mystery to the CIA back then. Turns out it was Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti, the guy who trained al-Qahtani. This info started painting a picture of how al-Qaeda was set up, but it wasn't enough to pin down Osama bin Laden. The CIA tried everything, but tracking down bin Laden, let alone getting any solid intel on him, seemed impossible. They monitored his family closely, but none of them had any contact with bin Laden. The CIA only knew that wherever bin Laden was, he was sending messages. In the subsequent years, audio tapes from Osama bin Laden were released, revealing that he communicated solely with al-Qaeda's leadership. The CIA's strategy then shifted to tracking al-Qaeda's courier network, the individuals who delivered messages from Osama bin Laden to other al-Qaeda leaders. In January 2004, Kurdish security forces apprehended a man named Hassan Gul, who was found in possession of a letter from Osama bin Laden. Hassan Gul was handed over to the CIA, where he divulged crucial information during interrogation. He disclosed that bin Laden's personal courier was indeed the same Abu Ahmed who had trained Mohammed al-Qahtani. As the investigation turned to Abu Ahmed, the team started getting different pieces of info about his role in al-Qaeda. According to Hassan Gul, Abu Ahmed had a big role, but Khalid Sheikh Mohammed said Abu Ahmed wasn't very important and had retired. In May 2005, Abu Faraj al-Libi, al-Qaeda's commander after Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, was caught. He also downplayed Abu Ahmed's importance. The CIA had mixed views on Abu Ahmed from various interrogated al-Qaeda members. Other than Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti, the CIA had no solid info. Amusingly, that wasn't even his real name. It meant Ahmed from Kuwait. It's important to note that the intel gathered from al-Qaeda members wasn't obtained through simple interrogation but involved harsh techniques, including various forms of torture. Despite intensive efforts over the next couple of years, neither Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti nor Osama bin Laden could be located. Instead, the next lead came from a different intelligence agency. In 2007, the CIA received intel about Abu Ahmed's true identity, which didn't originate from their own network. they found out that Abu Ahmed's real name was Ibrahim Said Ahmed, a Pakistani whose family had relocated to Kuwait. Over the following 2 years, they only managed to uncover his real name, but it would still take a few more years to apprehend him. The CIA concentrated all its efforts on tracking Ibrahim Said, also known as Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti. They started monitoring all calls from Kuwait and other Middle Eastern countries to Pakistan, hoping to trace Abu Ahmed. After monitoring millions of phone calls and waiting for 3 years, in June 2010, they finally became suspicious of a specific phone call. The individual on the call, speaking in Arabic, mentioned that he was still with the same people as before, which heightened the CIA's suspicion that this was indeed Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti. Additionally, the individual in Pakistan was actively trying to avoid detection. His phone would only stay on briefly before being turned off again, and it was powered on solely during his visits to Peshawar. These actions convinced the investigative team that this person was likely Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti. As a result, ground-level surveillance commenced. In August 2010, a Pakistani CIA operative was tasked with the job. He initially identified Abu Ahmed in Peshawar and began trailing him. After hours of surveillance, Abu Ahmed returned to his residence. The CIA now pinpointed the location of Abu Ahmed's house, but they proceeded cautiously this time. They maintained a low profile because Abu Ahmed could potentially lead them to Osama bin Laden's hideout. After several days of surveillance, there was suspicion that bin Laden might not just be nearby but actually residing in the same compound as Abu Ahmed. While the United States wasn't yet completely certain, the man they had pursued for the past decade could potentially be right there. At this juncture, the intelligence agency's role concluded, and the mission to raid the compound was entrusted to a special unit. On May 1, 2011, at 11 p.m., 2 Black Hawk helicopters took off from Jalalabad airfield in Afghanistan and headed toward bin Laden's compound in Abbottabad. This mission was pretty tricky because the US hadn't informed Pakistan about it, and the compound was very close to the Pakistani military academy. So, the helicopters used in this mission were equipped with top-secret stealth technology to avoid detection. The operation was supposed to last 40 minutes, but the Navy SEALs found and killed Osama bin Laden on the building's 3rd floor within the first 15 minutes. The rest of the time was spent battling bin Laden's guards and securing the entire compound. As they were leaving, one helicopter had a malfunction and couldn't take off. As a result, the helicopter was destroyed, and everyone, including Osama bin Laden's body, had to return in just one helicopter. Officials stated that Osama bin Laden's body was buried at sea within 24 hours.